But in the big story, which is now what we're going to do, the sharks are circling around the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, with speculation about his position growing by the day. If the Conservatives were to ditch Rishi Sunak, who are the runners and riders to replace him? Who better to ask than one of the best connected journalists in the country, political editor of the Daily Express Online, David Maddox. David, great to have you back on the show. Your paper is all over this story. For Sunak to be gone by May is perhaps unlikely, but it's not out of the question, is it?
No, it's not. Although I have to say, I think it's time for the people who want him out to put up or shut up. They need to get on with it. I've just done a piece today. Basically, we've got the by-elections in February. If they're a catastrophe, a lot of MPs are saying that will be the trigger to get rid of him. Others are saying, oh, we need to wait till May. Honestly, if they wait till May, it'll be too late. It means they won't have a new leader till the summer. They'll have torn each other apart even more in the leadership contest, and we'll go into the autumn in the general election with Labour absolutely laughing.
Well, indeed. Let's have a look at the runners and the riders, if we can, David. The hot favourite is Kemi Badenoch. Why is there so much heat around her at the moment? Why does she have momentum?
She's had momentum really all the way back since the 22 leadership election, the one which Liz Truss won, as opposed to the one which was stitched up for Rishi Sunak. And, there was a kind of Kemi cult almost. There was people absolutely starry-eyed about her, and you can see why. She's great on the culture wars. She's very articulate. She's very bright as well. But there are big problems with her as well, which, have alienated parts of the party. So whilst she's kind of the out-and-out favourite, I think in some ways she's the kind of lazy choice for a lot to say, oh, this will be the next leader.
Well, David, stay with me. Let's bring my top pundits in on this conversation around the runners and riders for the leadership of the Tory party. And what do you think yourself, David, about Kemi Badenoch? Do you think she would be a strong alternative to the incumbent?
I do. I think she's got a future as leader of the Conservative Party. I wouldn't wish this poison chalice on her before May. I think no new leader would be able to put their imprint on the party. But were Rishi to leave, it would need to be Kemi. I think she's a patriot, she's honest, and she's incredibly capable.
Yes, Emma, Kemi Badenoch would have Keir Starmer running scared. In fact, the whole of the Labour movement, because they couldn't even play the tokenism card, could they? They couldn't talk about people of colour or indeed a woman, which is a good way of describing Kemi Badenoch.
I mean, I think it is to the Labour Party's embarrassment that they've never had a female leader, absolutely. And I have chastised them from the inside about this fairly regularly. I think if Kemi Badenoch has any sense, she will, and as I understand it, she is briefing that she's been saying this and said this very morning on the television. She has no desire to take over this side of the general election because whoever is in charge, they're likely to lose it. If they really want to get rid of Rishi Sunak, I do have an option for them if you'd like to hear it.
Go on.
So I've been thinking ever since David Cameron came back that there is another retired former leader, figurehead of an organisation out there who's been retired, hasn't got so much to do on his hands. And, the Tories, they want someone with the qualities of Boris Johnson, but maybe without the baggage. The obvious answer? Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald. Oh, Emma, do bugger off. Listen, what do you think? Adrian Hayes, it's nice to see old Ronald McDonald back again. I mean, I'll be honest with you, he probably would do a better job than some in Parliament. What's your appraisal of Kemi Badenoch? She could just be our Prime Minister before November.
She could be, but I agree with them. I think it's a poison chalice to take over the Conservatives at this time in the election cycle. I mean, we're in electioneering right now. I think the Conservatives, whatever side you fall on or support or loathe, I think they're facing a wipeout, whatever happens. So I wouldn't recommend. If I were her, I would hold fast for the reorganisation that's going to take place post-election.
OK, so Badenoch looks to be in the lead as a potential replacement for Sunak and David Maddox. How about Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary? Is she in with a shout?
No.
I think Suella is within a shout, but it would take quite a lot now for it to work out for her. She's too ideologically on one side of a party, really. I think the more likely option from that side of a party is possibly somebody like Robert Jenrick, who is rapidly emerging as a kind of compromise candidate on the right, and really impressed a lot of people in December when he resigned from a Home Office on principle. He's made a couple of very good speeches. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see Robert rising up instead of Suella, but there are others. You could talk about Penny Mordaunt or James Cleverly. There are a lot there, and none of them, including Kemi, I'm afraid, are the full package, and that's the problem, and that's why Rishi's still in post.
Indeed, I was reading in your paper earlier today that many Tories would like to see Boris come back. What are the chances of that happening? I mean, that's the nuclear button, isn't it?
That really is the nuclear button, but he'd have to get back into Parliament first, and Rishi Sunak's not letting that happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Boris comes back in the next Parliament when the Tories are almost certainly in opposition, and I could see him then becoming leader, in maybe 3 or 4 years' time. I think that's the more likely route. There was some weird talk at one point about him standing in Wellingborough, but that didn't happen. The real scary one, which I thought Emma was going to allude to, is that people are talking about David Cameron as a caretaker leader, which would be, I think, the ultimate disaster. I have to say, I think they may as well stick with Rishi rather than go down that route.
Joseph, David, as I understand it, you are a Conservative supporter. So would you like Rishi Sunak to stay put, or do you think that it's time to throw the kitchen sink at it, given the fact that they look like they're going to lose the election?
The Conservative Party electorate didn't have a chance to vote for Rishi Sunak. If there is a new Prime Minister, yet another new Prime Minister, it has to be by way of a public vote.
Right.
I don't think there's any way around it. It's something to do with our democracy and our decency as a country. We need to give the population the right to have the vote.
OK, well, listen, David, a real treat to have you on the show. The very best political coverage can be found at the dailyexpress.co.uk. And David, we'll catch up soon. My thanks there to David Maddox.
Thanks.